What's going on? It's the RapNerd, and I finally was able to watch the return of the Verzuz battle with No Limit versus Cash Money. It released Saturday, October, I think 28th, but I was at a family reunion, so I couldn't get to it, but I finally remembered to watch it, and man, I was so happy to see this. I'm glad that they brought that series back because it was really a highlight for me in the pandemic era, 2020, especially when everyone was just trapped home, and then they just kept elevating it and bringing it to the big stage, like the Locks versus Dipset joint, and I'm glad that they did that for something of this magnitude with these super groups, you know what I mean? So my take on this one is I have to give the win to No Limit, and for me it's more because of preparation, because I did a tally song for song per round, and they're even. They're 6-6, on both sides. So I think on paper and musically they are dead ass even, but the performance, the whole outlook and approach to the battle goes to No Limit, because I feel like they were more prepared and they were there to actually battle. They went 12 rounds, and as they've done with the Verzuz, the first half one person to go first, and then it'll flipping vice versa, kind of like basketball, football, how halftime you switch sides. So in the first half of the battle, Cash Money went first, and the opening record was 400 Degrees, and it was just Juvenile by himself. And I don't understand why they went that route. They approached this like a show more than a battle, and I think for me personally, that's why they lost. Whereas when No Limit responded to that, they all came out wearing the same type of gear, all wearing camouflage, all had the grills in, all had the diamonds out, all had the military type hats. They just looked like a unit, that they were there for war. And honestly, Cash Money just seemed like everybody just showed up as is, like they ain't even talk. They just was like, we're just gonna perform what we've been doing on our tour, and that's that. And most of their wins for me came from that first half, because they were just playing records, and I could tell that No Limit was warming things up and building to the win, because that second half, whew, No Limit went off. And that's where it really fell off for me. I was like, yo, Cash Money, are y'all trying to fight back, or y'all just trying to play records? Like, how are y'all going second in the second round and you're using this record to answer that record? It doesn't really make sense to me. I got my notes right here. I'm just going to read them off, right? So when it switched in round 7, No Limit played It Ain't My Fault, but Cash Money responded with Bling Bling, and I'm like, okay, this one can go in the air, but I chose Bling Bling just because it was a generational, like, not even generational, it was like a worldwide change of just the word, and I think that they performed that well. And the next record from No Limit in round 8 was Mr. Ice Cream Man, which I think is easily beatable because of the tempo and the energy of that record, and they responded with #1 Stunner, and I feel like the energy was just too high, and the performances were better, especially because Cash Money had Juvie and BG on their side, and both of them were great performances, especially Juvie. His vocals sound just like the record, and he was even doing things like when the records went off, he was kind of ad-libbing, and he kept rapping the lyrics to the crowd, getting them into it. So he was a big reason as to why Cash Money even got the numbers they got, because he was a great performer and BG vocals were super clean. But to continue what I'm talking about, right? So in round 9, No Limit does Bout It, which is one of their joints. And again, they saved all of their heavy hitters for the latter end of this battle. So they performed Bout It, got the crowd hype, and then Cash Money responds with Get Your Roll On. I'm like, that's not even the same type of energy a record. Like, No Limit took it here and you just responded like kind of mid-range. I'm like, that's not the record that you should have used for that. There are definitely more records than that. I mean, they could have shot back with The Block Is Hot. I know, Weezy wasn't there, but that's still part of Cash Money, because I'm going to get to why I said that, you can still use a Weezy record, but it just wasn't strong enough. They just played that because it was a hit. So next in round 10, No Limit responds with Make 'Em Say which yet again is another hard record from Master P. And they respond to that with I Need a Hot Girl. I'm like, are we not reading the energy? Like, y'all just playing records that are hit records. You're not battling, you know what I'm saying? You're just playing shit. Then round 11, No Limit fires back with Chopper Style. And this is the perfect opportunity for Cash Money to respond with Back That Ass Up. We talking about twerk records. Back That Ass Up is way up here in compared to Chopper Style, and that would have been a easy mop, but no, they play a million response, and I'm just kind of like, okay, we just playing shit here. Like, and that's why I mentioned if they're gonna be able to pick a Millie, you know, a Wayne record is part of Cash Money, they should have used The Block Is Hot against one of them earlier records to keep the energy up. I don't know what the fuck was going on. And then the final round, and this was the knockout blow. No Limit performed Down With My Niggas and then brought out Snoop Dogg and had him rap the verse. And it just felt like a battle rap when it's framed this way, when Snoop is on the stage rapping what he's saying and they on the other side. It just felt like a straight up diss record. And I was like, damn, some of them niggas look just like you. And the energy for that record was insane and just through the roof. And they choose to respond to that with Back That Ass Up. It don't make sense, man. And don't get me wrong, Back That Ass Up is a great record with mad energy, but it's not a record that you return fire to something like that, you know what I mean? And that's what just makes me feel like I gotta give the win to No Limit, because they went into this building to a climax and it ended on, you know, the heaviest hitting record. And then another thing that I gave to No Limit, you know, this battle is there were moments in time when Baby would grab the mic and he was just saying shit that just sounded so immature. I was just kind of like, bro, you like 65. Why are you talking like this? You know, he's saying we you know, we part of that real shit. And I get it that there was some turmoil and you know, some tension between the two camps, but it's like, dog, y'all grown, especially Baby, you grown, you make too much money to still be on that same shit that you on. Especially it looks worse when you can tell that everybody else in the group has grown up and moved on. You know, the whole time they giving props saying like, oh, that shit was hard, P. I see what you doing, that beat, I can't get over it. They giving props to each other. Same with No Limit, you know, Master P on the microphone and, you know, giving his props to Cash Money, saying like, yeah, y'all the first one to start that stunt and shit. And then we had Baby in here with a weird type of energy that just was like, bro. And then at the end, he's, you know, tried to make some monologue. I cut the shit off because I was like, I don't want to hear nothing he got to say. Like, you barely can even talk. Like, I don't know where his goddamn brain was at. But anyway, it was still fun nonetheless to see these two camps go at it, performing these really big records. And I enjoyed the hell out of myself. You know, I had my headphones on, had a drink beside me, and just getting down to all of the joints being played. But at the end of the day, this is still a battle and not a tour stop. You got to pick records and keep them in your arsenal to pull out to go against that round. I just feel like No Limit Soldiers did that way better. Again, not a clean killing like Dipset and Deluxe, but still a gentleman's defeat easily. So let me know in the comments, what do you have it at? Where do you rank it? For me, I would say track for track is 6-6, but the performance and preparation took No Limit over. And what was your favorite performance and record drop? Mine had to have been Down For My Niggas and Bringing Out Snoop. That shit was legendary as hell. And of course, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy. Instead of banking on it, now rapping is just a hobby.